Hello everyone! Today we have a special collab between Oh My Econ
and the Neuro Society.
My name is Jangir and I'll be representing Oh My Econ for today.
And my name is Marilee and I'll be representing the Neuro Club.
Today we'll talk about how the human psychology is involved in consumer choices. We will talk about habitual behavior, herding, and even more, and what it incentivizes some customers to save and some to overspend. And are all the things we buy actually necessary?
So we'll be digging deep into the economic aspects of us buying products and actually what goes in our brain when deciding what to buy. So, Jangir, have you ever had a tough time making a decision between buying a thing or not?
Yes, sometimes I go into a shop and there's just so much to choose from and I don't know what to choose, you know? There's even an example. I have a friend, we were in Boston together, and basically there was like a new case in trend for an iPhone when he has bought one a week ago, a brand new one. And basically, because of that trend, he has spent $60 on that new case, which was quite funny and
that's ridiculous.
Weird. Yes.
Yeah, everyone will do anything just to have the Apple ecosystem.
Yes, you know, it's just something that we don't need. It's a want. And I think wants are something that curse us, that leave us worrying, that, you know, we need to be like others when the thing you want to buy is, I don't know, going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, and even if the product is very expensive, people would still go on to buy this thing. For example, dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, is released during positive buying experiences. And you might have heard of dopamine when people would describe social media usage and addiction.
Yes.
So creating this reward system reinforces that consumer behavior. And as in your example, for your friend buying a new Apple product, it will release more dopamine, and therefore you would want to keep on buying this stuff to release more and more dopamine.
Yes, we can say the same exact thing about gambling. People invest money into something and then they lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to compensate it by winning it back, by thinking they'll win it back. That's how people go bankrupt, and how, you know, how your life can just go downwards from that.
Have you heard of the amygdala?
No, can you tell me what that is?
So basically, amygdala is a region of the brain, and it's associated with the emotional decision making. It's the brain's emotional center, and it actually plays a crucial role in consumer choices. And emotional responses often override rational decision making. So by wanting to get a new, for example, new iPhone 15 Pro Max or whatever, it will override the rational decision of whether you have enough money to buy it or not.
Yeah, that was amazing. So, like, even me, I I bought an iPhone 15 just because, I don't know why I bought it, but I bought it. Even though I had a perfectly working iPhone 12 before. And even like a year ago, I bought myself a new MacBook when I had a perfectly working MacBook before that. So, you know, even we're talking about this, we're discussing it, but we're still victims of that too. And it's just something really hard to understand, and to totally understand it, we should dive deeper into it. So, for example, like, there are a lot of psychological factors to why people buy their wants, why people purchase what they want but don't need. For example, as Marilee said, pleasure seeking, to reach out to dopamine, emotional rewards, and even like me, self-expression. People use products to express their identity, values, and social status. Buying certain items allows individuals to convey their personal style, beliefs, and affiliations. And I think a crucial role in this is social influences. So like peer pressuring or gift giving or social proof and herding. How, you know, children can get bullied for having, I don't know, a Columbia t-shirt or a Columbia coat, instead of a Montclair, you know? And like the desire to fit in or be accepted by a particular social group can lead individuals to buy things that they believe will enhance their acceptance or status within the group, which is quite sad.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I mean, okay, Jangir, I want to ask you a question. Are you a big fan of perfumes and scents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What would your
think so.
favorite scent be?
Probably Parfums de Male, Aqua.
Aqua, okay. So, a fun fact, retailers strategically use scents to evoke specific emotions. So, if a product were to have the scent of your favorite perfume, Aqua, it will influence your mood and then it will influence your decision to make a purchase on that.
Yes, I totally agree. And then, like, marketing and environmental factors play a crucial role in this.
Now, yeah, so let me ask you, what is habitual behavior and herding behavior? Can you explain that more in detail?
So basically, habitual behavior is the formation of habits deeply ingrained in consumer choices. Repeated behaviors create neural pathways, making individuals more likely to stick to familiar purchasing patterns. So, like, if I buy something every week, like I go to the grocery store, I get myself some wine, some beer, and then it'll just become a habit, you know. After weeks and weeks and weeks of doing the same action, of purchasing the same thing, I'll get used to it and I'll justify it with lies, and I'll basically just gaslight myself into buying that, like, you know.
My mom, I always see the same type of milk in our fridge. It's always the same. My mom never wants to change it.
Yes, so true. Like, basically, if you just buy something from a young age or from a long time, then you'll just stick with that because you have trust in that product, you know? Like, for example, buying an iPhone. An iPhone consumer would not, like, switch to Samsung, for example, because that's what they get used to. So, basically, yeah, that's what they'll keep on buying. And then, like, as you asked me, herding behavior is the social influence and the desire to contribute to herding behavior. The brain's social circuits activate when people observe others making certain choices, influencing their own decision.
Yeah, so that's basically with your example of Apple users not buying Samsung users, because most people prefer to use Apple because it's considered more, what do you call it?
Niche?
More accessible.
Yeah.
You're cooler.
More
And
expensive too.
More expensive, yeah. And I think we should consider the online shopping platforms that make it easier to actually be influenced by this decisions of others and show herding behavior in yourself. As online shopping platforms, they often employ algorithms that display popular trending items, like when you're scrolling through your For You page on TikTok or Instagram Reels. So it will influence your own decision.
Definitely. Now, Marilee, I heard someone talk about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Can you explain and elaborate on that?
All right, of course. So according to this theory, after basic physiological and safety needs are met, individuals seek to fulfill higher level needs such as love or belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So buying certain items can be seen as a way to meet these higher level needs. What would you say your kind of item would be?
Probably like an ice cream.
Ice cream,
like
right.
Yeah, something dopamine spiking.
Yeah, for me it's Kit Kat.
Oh.
It'll definitely be Kit Kat.
I like Snickers. But let's not turn this into an advertising campaign.
I think food is very prevalent in this.
Yes, definitely. And, like, some people go to restaurants and spend so much money on, like, on food. I don't know how you can spend that much. Like a golden steak, or
A5 Wagyu.
Yes, or some expensive wine. Like, for example, I've seen a Czech in Nusret. That's a very popular Middle Eastern restaurant in Dubai, I think. And the check was $120,000, and it was just...
What?
Yes, imagine.
No way.
It was just Petrus wine. And the wine is like $20,000 per bottle. That's it. And they only ate, like, I don't know, a kilogram of steak, 4 people. And everything was just wine, And I don't know if you actually need that. It's a want. And yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. Moving on to our next question on what incentivizes some consumers to save and some to overspend, like for steak and wine.
So we can talk about temporal discounting. The brain tends to prioritize immediate rewards over future gains. Those who overspend might succumb on the allure of instant gratification, while savers prioritize delayed rewards. So
Yeah, you would want to have instant gratification from
yes.
a gold steak and some 1,000-year-old wine
Yes.
over prioritizing.
For example, even we can talk about people living from wage to wage. Like whenever people get their wage, their payment, they can spend the money all in one go in one night, and then work a month again, and spend their life in a cycle when they can actually like spend money and save money. I mean, and invest into something, invest into their like buy a gym membership, for example. It's a long-term reward. You go to the gym, you won't see the results right away, you'll take like years maybe to even show that you go to the gym. But then some people can just buy a vape or something and just get instant gratification from that instead of actually working on themselves. And just even playing games, you play games to leave the planet for a second, to just go out, and forget thinking about the real world, when you can actually invest, like instead of upgrading your character in the game, you can actually upgrade your character like in real life.
Yeah, and this underlines our individual differences in risk tolerance that impact our financial decisions. So some may be more averse to financial risks, leading to saving, while others may be inclined to take risks, contributing to overspending. And actually, a fun fact, studies show that the physical act of handling cash activates brain areas associated with pain, making people more cautious about spending.
Oh, I know this talking about cash. I have like an interesting fact. Did you know that credit cards were actually invented for another purpose rather than making it more convenient to carry money? Yes. When people carry cash, they feel how much they spent. They can physically touch the money. They can see it. Whereas when the money is in numbers, like in your phone, or you can see them on an ATM, you don't actually think of it that much. So you spend more. For example, I can go to a ski resort and I'll spend $100 with my card, but then if I would have carried that money in cash, I would have spent like 20, because damn, that's scary.
You know the feeling when you just keep using your card? Because if you have the cash in your wallet, you just think, oh yeah, I have money left. But then you look into your bank account and you're like, no, I kept spending money, but
exactly.
I thought but you think in your card there's an infinite amount of money.
Right, yes, like this happened to me just today. A week ago, I got like a ton of money in my card, and then I checked it today and I had a fraction of that left, even though I haven't went out at all. And like, it's quite sad that like we cannot actually think of our spendings more, that we don't actually care about them as much. And like, if we would have had money in cash, it would have been inconvenient, but at least we would spend less. But you can argue that spending more is actually better for the economy. So as an economist, I can say that if you spend more money, it's better for the economy overall, but it may be worse for you from a personal perspective. For like per se, like you spend money, it flows into the economy, and then the GDP of your country may rise, and
but how can you justify it? So for example, a person goes broke by buying lots of MacBooks, and it will of course foster the economy, but then how will they keep continuing to foster the economy if they have no money left?
Yes, I actually agree. Like, the person can become homeless, which will become a liability for the government,
That's a very serious problem.
So you can actually say a lot about this. And like, a lot of people winning lotteries, like crazy
gambling.
sums. Yes, crazy sums of money, and they spend it in one go, in 1 year. Like a crazy sum spent in a very short amount of time.
About gambling, we can, I think, talk about cognitive dissonance reduction. So people would often gamble
Yeah.
as they want a way to reduce this dissonance, a psychological discomfort caused by holding conflicting thoughts. For instance, buying eco-friendly products can help align one's purchases with personal values about our environmental conservation,
Yes,
thus
yes.
reducing the internal conflict. Same with gambling.
Totally, I agree. And can you talk about mood regulations and the role of identity and self-concept in purchasing?
That's a very important factor to think about. So consumers, they would often buy products not just for who they are, but for who they want to be. So we also have to think about cultural influences and social media impact. With, of course, have you heard of the Stanley?
The Stanley
The
Cups, of
Stanley
course.
Rage. Oh no!
Yes. Have you seen that video in the internet and TikTok, I think, where a car burned down and the only thing that was left was a Stanley Cup?
Right, and this is such a superb marketing strategy,
Yes.
which makes consumers want to buy it more, even though it's been disproven, right?
Yeah.
That
right.
it's not actually that durable.
Yes, so like a lot of people go for trends and
Yeah, and they would splurge all the money for $100.
yeah.
A cup that costs $100 to $200.
Like, come
That's
on,
crazy.
I'd rather buy 20 cups of another brand than one cup.
It's all for the name, right?
Yes,
All
of
for the
course.
name.
Like, even, those suitcases, Rimowa and, like, Tumi.
Yeah.
Like, Rimowa suitcases, my mother has bought one, and it's, like, $4,000 for a suitcase, come on.
That's insane.
If I would have seen that in an airport, I would have stolen that right away. Like, crazy what people would do just for a logo,
Yeah.
And, like, we can also say that there are social and cultural dimensions in that. For example, like, cultural influences in something. Cultural norms and values deeply influence consumer behavior in some cultures. For instance, luxury goods can signify success and are sought after as symbols of status and achievement.
Yeah, for example, in Kazakhstan, or even if we narrow it down to our school, people would strive to wear something that has a designer label,
Yes,
and that was
true.
seen as a luxury good.
True. For
Yeah.
example, like, a lot of children wear clothes like Off-White and, like, those type of brands when they're actually, like, the same as my H&M or Zara shirt, And it's crazy what people can do just to fit in. Like, also in Kazakhstan, we have a very popular car mark, the Camry 70. Like, you wouldn't imagine. The Camry 70 costs like $20,000 in the US. In Kazakhstan, I'm pretty sure it's around like 60,000. Like, if you have a Camry, you're the coolest guy on the street, I'm telling you. And it's just a Toyota, And people would go into depth to own such a vehicle.
Yeah.
And like, they'd stay in debt for a very long time. And I even had my uncle. There was a story 2 years ago. He wanted to buy a whole Apple ecosystem. He had a Samsung or a Xiaomi, I don't remember. And then he bought an Apple Watch, an iPhone, the biggest iPhone, the Pro Max something, I don't remember. And like AirPods too. And then he was in debt for 2 years trying to pay that off. It was $5,000, I think, for everything. And just like,
No,
come
that's
on.
insane.
And then you have to work 9 to 5 to pay that off and not buy anything. Like, he didn't even have money for basic necessities such as food. Like, he'd always like get me to school and ask me to buy him an iced tea or something.
Yeah, and we can link this to neurological factors such as FOMO, or fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in your instance, your uncle, he was capitalized on the fear of missing out by marketing strategies, and which prompts consumers like him to buy things they want to stay current and not feel left behind by trends or social circles, one being the Apple ecosystem.
Yes, I agree. I agree so much. And like, we can also talk about the perceived value versus the price, So consumers are often willing to pay a premium for products they perceive as offering superior value, whether through quality, prestige, or unique experiences. the perceived value can outweigh practical considerations, leading to the purchase of wants. And like, yeah, there's a ton of things we can discuss about this, and we just go deeper and deeper into the topic.
Can you give more detail on behavioral economics insights?
Yeah, of course. So, insights from behavioral economics, such as, for example, the endowment effect, which is valuing things more highly once we own them, and mental accounting, which is treating money differently depending on its source or intended use, further explaining why people spend money on wants. For example, even with us, we're teenagers, we still live with our parents, and as we get this free allowance, we try to spend it, you know? We don't actually work for the money, so even we're victims of this. And then we can talk about the endowment effect. For example, I bought a MacBook, and then I started defending MacBooks so crazily. Like, I owned, like, I don't know, 3 Windows MacBooks before that, and I'd always say, Windows is the best for its value, you know? MacBooks are nothing. And then after purchasing a MacBook, I'm like, oh no, MacBooks are better for work and stuff, you know?
Yeah, you're actually displaying the concept of a mental accounting. So this concept suggests that individuals will mentally categorize money for different purposes, influencing their spending decisions, such as on a MacBook.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
and also a fun fact, the IKEA effect. You know of IKEA, right?
Yeah, of course.
There is a cognitive bias where people tend to place a higher value on products they partially created themselves.
Yeah.
So this, in turn, enhances the emotional connection with the item, and thus will make consumers want to spend more.
Definitely, I agree. So, you know what else we can talk about? There's this thing I don't understand about, like, I don't know how to say it. The peculiar, isn't it? Peculiar, isn't it? I've actually run out of stuff to say. You know, I'm just
Fun fact.
go on. I'm just sitting here and thinking about what should I say. Go on.
Fun fact. The hedonic treadmill refers to the tendency of individuals to return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite significant positive or negative events or life changes. So this phenomenon can influence ongoing consumption patterns as people seek new purchases to maintain or elevate their happiness levels. So for me personally, we recently had mocks, right?
Right, yeah.
And I thought they would be very stressful. And for me, I had a couple days where my whole day would be booked with exams. So I would have like 3 exams at once in 2 or 3 days. And I would eat up my stress, my worries with chocolate. And so this influenced me to consume more chocolate and to buy more chocolate because, again, dopamine, instant gratification. So that's how I stayed afloat during the mock season.
I think that's a reference to Kung Fu Panda because like
Kung Fu Panda?
in the movie he says that he eats up his sorrow, and I can say the same thing.
Are you
about
comparing me with the Kung Fu Panda?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'll take it as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Do you think Kung Fu Panda is a victim of marketing?
Maybe. Oh, right. We can talk about that. So you know how his dad sells dumplings, right?
Yeah.
And then how he eats dumplings all the time, how he advertises them in the movie. Like how biased he is about them, you know?
Yeah, again, cognitive bias.
Yes. Amazing insight. And like, you know, we can continue and talk about e-commerce and online shopping convenience. So like,
right. Very prevalent today.
Yes. So like, there's just an ease of online shopping, and it has dramatically changed consumer behavior, making it easier to fulfill wants with just a few clicks, you know? I can go into like Amazon, press 5 times and order a $200 product from someone.
Or, you know, like Glovo or Wolt.
Yeah.
And since the quarantine, since the pandemic, the percentage of people actually having an online shopping convenience experience, it dramatically increased.
Yes.
especially in Kazakhstan.
100%. I agree. Like, there are some people who don't even leave their houses and just order everything there. Like, even.
Oh, in Japanese, they call these types of people hikikomori.
Yeah.
So they never leave their homes and they basically live there 24/7. And I think this phenomenon also contributes to the economy as they have more orders coming into their homes without actually stepping outside.
Well, that's a bit depressing,
That's a bit depressing.
And, about Japan, we can also talk about things like trends like feng shui. You know what's feng shui? It's basically like living in a space that's empty to create like clarity in your mind, and that has become a trend since like 2015. It has been so popular. My mom has implicated feng shui in our house, and bro, I'm telling you, it's just
Same with
empty.
my mom, yeah.
Yeah, like she always tells me that having a clear room will always means you have a clear mind.
And have you heard of the thing where you point your bed towards the north according to feng shui?
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yes. Like
I've never understood that.
Yes, I agree. Like my room isn't even suitable for that, and like I don't know. It's just like.
Yeah.
Humans are interesting,
Mm-hmm. Humans are interesting. Like, for example, me, during the pandemic, I had like a huge splurge on mangas, on like anime figurines, because I was influenced by social media. I was influenced by TikTok. I'm a victim of marketing.
Exactly, and like during the pandemic, we've all stayed at home. We've all used social media apps such as Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and so on, Reddit, and we just, I don't know, it feels like after the pandemic, every person has the same personality, because we all had the same interests, the same jokes, because we were all at home, and just like, that was, I think, the peak of like marketing online. So like,
definitely.
Yes. So we'd easily get influenced by like, I remember the trend in Kazakhstan was like, puppets, and squishies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, we were like at home, and then we just, I don't know, see them everywhere, and just to fit in, just to try it out, we'd buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we did a very good job understanding the intricate interplay between neuroscience, psychology, and economics, which allows for a more nuanced exploration of the factors shaping our consumer decisions.
I agree. I agree fully. So, like, we can end on this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write to our Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Our Instagram is Neuroclub.
Can you check to make sure?
It's Neuroclub. And your Instagram?
Our Instagram is ohmyecon. So
keep being interested in neuroscience, psychology, and economics.
Give her a second to find her name.
Neurosociety.
Oh, Neurosociety. Yeah, so Neuro_society. If you have any tips or any personal experiences you want to share, feel free. We'll maybe expand on that on the next podcast.
If you liked our podcast and you want us to return together as a duo to give you more podcast episodes, then please leave your reactions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.